Today, business is operating in a more interconnected world than ever before. Smart companies are partnering in complex chains of collaboration, but it's also clear that not all companies are ready. So, what are the new architectures helping to unleash the enterprise? I'm talking to Elise Cornell, Paul Doherty, and Michael Biltz. We talk about the frictionless business. Where does friction lie, though, within businesses?
Yeah, I think a lot of the friction is in forming new partnerships. It's literally the infrastructure and the technology needed to connect two businesses, whether that's a startup or even to connect two organizations. And a lot of times just making those systems talk to each other so that you can seamlessly share data and work and operate is harder than it looks because of the lack of advanced technologies that would enable that.
It's also about being able to partner smartly. If you're agile within your own business, you're using new technologies, it allows you to develop all sorts of new opportunities because you can develop new partnerships, which I guess we're seeing a lot more of today than we were maybe 10 or 20 years ago.
No, absolutely. A key change that we're seeing in business is with many businesses pursuing more platform-driven business models. And as you move to a platform-driven business model, which many organizations are doing, we see continually in the business that we do, that means that you need to form new partnerships very quickly. You're providing a platform for interacting with many other partners to deliver services to your customers. It means you need to add in, add, subtract, reform, change, these partnerships continuously, and that again requires a lot of agility in the way your systems work and your architecture works, and the way that platform works. It requires you again to make sure you don't have friction in the system that's making it hard or delaying your ability to operate that kind of platform.
So, are we seeing a lot of enterprise buy into this idea that partnerships are generally a good thing? Because it strikes me that not everyone is doing it that successfully. Maybe they buy into it philosophically as an idea, but there are things holding them back.
Yeah, no, I think that what we're seeing right now is that the willingness and eagerness to do this is there. And I'm going to say almost universally. The issue that we run into is that partnering with somebody is no longer just about a strategy. It's not connecting up the dots around are your products and services compatible. The reality is that partnering today means a merger of your technology. And so if you haven't designed your systems, your products, and your services on the back end specifically to share and integrate them with partners outside of your company, every time you want to do something new, you're talking about potentially millions of dollars to integrate those things together, which takes an enormous amount of time and effort.
I guess today, forming partnerships could be key to your success or otherwise as a business. Some companies seem to be very agile, seem to be very good, especially the digital native companies. Other companies perhaps not so. What are the challenges that lie ahead for businesses that don't embrace the new technologies?
Yeah, a lot of large businesses that have been around pre-digital native times have legacy systems that have formed basically the foundation of their business and have grown with them in a very non-digital way. And they've also added digital technologies to enhance them. And there are a lot of technologies that are enabling that kind of coupling of legacy to newer technologies. The real challenge, I think, when you put it in real business terms of what friction happens in the enterprise, happens in the innovation space. When you want to quickly form a new partnership with a company or a startup or an academic organization and begin working with them and co-innovating. Right now, the process for large companies to onboard a new vendor can often take months. And you think about the systems that are required, registering them as a vendor, getting them logged. And so that time to innovation gets longer and longer when you just simply have harder connection points that take longer for companies to realize or to achieve.
So it's like moving a tanker sometimes with these big organizations, which you would kind of expect to be a little bit more agile. So what are the kind of ways in which companies can actually make themselves a bit more agile, can think about smartly using some new technologies?
Yeah, there's a big trend now, and people will see a lot of buzz in the market for good reason, with things like microservices, right, that are actually taking down the component parts and making it so that you can make quick connections at almost like we'll call it like an atom or an atomic, a business atomic level. And so that's enabling lots of quick process changes, quick technologies enabling new foundations in different levels. So it wouldn't have to be an entire monolithic system that's got to plug into another monolithic system.
Right.
By reducing it down to this essence, this is allowing this quick coupling and connections.
So like, for example, if an app uses Google Maps, that's the Google Maps microservice, it's the API, but they've shared it with other partners and everyone wins, right?
Correct. There are lots of examples doing that. I think Walgreens is one of the notable ones where they're moving into offering new services and being able to do that with whether it's adding on flu shots or adding on connections with the doctors or nurses or other hospital and providers. Having that kind of, like you said, that microservice level, allowing those APIs and exposing them allows them to partner more quickly.
One concern that companies must have is about giving away their secrets and the security of their data that they're handing over. You're entering into a partnership. How can you be sure that there is that level of security and trust that you're not partnering with the wrong partner?
Yeah, so there's two things. The first is that it's the reason why you want to use things like microservices. If you can prepare for it up front, is that you now have an amount of control of, they don't have access to everything. They have access to exactly the pieces that you want. But the other side of it is really the emergence of blockchain is becoming a way to help manage partnerships and manage the trust of these partnerships.
So on a very basic level, how is blockchain helping them manage? Now, blockchain, I know, is a fiendishly complicated techie technology. If ever there was a techie technology, blockchain is it. But on a basic level, blockchain means that you don't have to establish trust because it's built into the system, right?
The reason it exists is exactly for those trust reasons. Imagine that you had a mango. It's part of Walmart's supply chain. The mango gets picked from a farm, it's packed up into a crate, and then when that crate is loaded onto that first truck, it's updated into the blockchain system. So essentially, blockchain is a ledger. It's a list of transactions for when things happen. And so every time that mango moves through the supply chain that says it goes to the sorting center, it gets pushed out onto a delivery truck, it eventually goes to a store and then it's sold. Literally every step along the way, it updates and it creates a new block. And then when you start looking historically over this, what you end up with is a series of transactions on every step of the way, which is the change. Now, here's what's different. All this sounds normal and you nod up your town and say, well, everybody can do that. What's unique about blockchain is that this ledger is decentralized. And what that means is that every single person and every single company all along that supply chain has their own ledger. And all of those ledgers are updated at the same time.
So it's the same ledger, but they all have a copy.
They all have a copy. It all gets updated at the exact same time so that everybody knows every step of the entire supply chain.
So we've heard about how API and blockchain can really help companies partner in a very agile manner with one another. But of course, there are lots of businesses for whom they don't have that ability because they have the legacy systems. What is the main takeaway for business and how businesses should be responding to this new opportunity offered by these new technologies?
I think the key takeaway for me would be, one point of it would be, there's no silver bullet. This is hard work to really reconstruct, the architecture, move your organization into the future and into this frictionless future. But I think one of the key takeaways for me is that it comes down around talent and having the best technology talent, the right technology talent in your company, because fundamentally every company is becoming a technology company. It's something we've talked about for years, but you really see it happening now, which means you need the right technology talent in your whatever company, whatever industry you're in, that can develop these types of platforms, use these types of technologies to move you to these frictionless outcomes.